Hey guys, Kelly here. So today we're going to talk about mastering masking fluid. Actually, I'm going to be using Monster Liquid Latex in place of it. There are many ways to use masking fluid, and I'm going to share 3 of my favorite ways to use it. And stick around to the end because I'm going to be sharing something fabulous with you that I played around with and absolutely enjoyed. So if you want to get crisper, more controlled highlights in your watercolor paintings, you're going to want to look at some of these favorite tricks using a ruling pen with masking fluid. In this quick little demo at the end, I'm going to show you how to load and use a ruling pen. Plus, we're going to share some pro tips in achieving those clean lines, and we're going to put it to the test with a little rock painting that I'm going to be doing. So if you've ever struggled with preserving highlights or controlling masking fluid, I think these techniques are kind of a game changer. I absolutely love them. So grab your supplies and let's dive in. The first option is using a bottle with a little metal tip on it to apply your masking fluid, and I will leave you the links down below for this one on Amazon. But I fill mine up with Monster Liquid Latex, and it's got a little needle nose tip on here, and they do come in different sizes as well, but this is like the perfect width for larger areas. So let me just show you here. The first one I'm going to do is just a dollop. So if you're working in big areas, this is a great way to fill it in really quickly without having to ruin your brushes. You can also use that metal tip to create lines or, for example, a little tree. All right, so we all know we can use a brush, right, for masking fluid, but I hate to do this because I don't know how many of these gorgeous, expensive brushes that I have ruined in my lifetime. You can get that masking fluid up stuck in there and it dries and it ruins the brush. So I'm not even going to talk about that one today. You can, however, put a little Dawn dishwashing soap on the brush before you dive into it, and that does help it. But today we're going to talk about one of my other favorite tools for masking fluid, and that is the ruling pen. This is adjustable. You can see there's a little screw on there, and that changes the tip of that, or the width of the area that your masking fluid is going to come out from. You can see it's metal. Again, very easy to clean up. This has a flat side and this is a rounded side. So you use the flat side if you want a really straight edge. You can follow along like on a metal ruler to make sure you have a very, very, very straight line. So if you've never heard of a ruling pen, it's basically a tool to use it in calligraphy, drawing, and other applications to create really precise, consistent lines and with various thickness. So it has 2 metal blades, as we talked about. It can be adjusted to control the width of the line, which is going to make it very useful for fine line work, especially when you need to control an area that you want to add masking fluid to. So here's how to use the ruling pen. You want to adjust the blades. You're going to use that screw on the pen to adjust the width of the nib. And the closer the blades are together, the finer the line. The wider apart they are, the thicker the line. So you can experiment to really find what thickness you prefer. You want to fill that reservoir. It has that little small ink reserve or reservoir beneath or between the blades. You fill it with a choice of your masking fluid. I'm going to be using my Monster Liquid Latex for this one. And you can make sure that you don't overfill it by just tapping off a little bit on the edge of a paper towel. So we are going to hold the pen at an angle, at a slight angle to the paper, not upright like a traditional pen. The angle of the nib is going to affect that line quality. And then you have some pressure control that you want to think about. You want to gently pull the pen across the paper. You can adjust again the line, the thickness by changing the pressure or the speed as you draw it. The lighter the pressure is going to produce those finer lines. The more pressure you put down is going to make them a little bit thicker. And then we always want to make sure we clean our pen after use. It's essential to clean it just to avoid any buildup. And you can use water or any kind of cleaner, Dawn dishwashing soap to clean it up. So it's really a great tool for architectural drawing, straight lines, buildings, lettering, any intricate designs that you need that precision for. So a third option that you can use is a calligraphy pen. How many of you have a calligraphy pen? I know I've had this thing for years, and it does come with a lot of different size nibs, so it's really fun to use the masking fluid in here as well, because you can change again the size of the nib that you're using. And you can see how tiny this one is. Actually, it's a little hard to load because it's so small. So, play around with the different sizes, and you can also use these to write letters, notes, words, letters, I already said letters, your alphabet letters, that is. And again, you want to make sure that you clean that off just like you do your ruling pen. You don't want any of that to get stuck in there. These are metal, so it works very well. You can usually pull that any extra that dries in there out really easy. Now, another option is to use a glass pen, a quill pen for that too. And that one is also very easy. So I do put my fingernail in here just to make sure I've got that little bit of separation and I've got everything out of there before I put that away. The other thing is make sure you dry these off really well because they are metal. You don't want them to rust on you. And before I forget, I do want to mention, make sure that you don't use a heat tool or a blow dryer to blow dry your masking fluid because it will adhere to your paper if it gets too hot. So let it dry naturally if you can. That's the best way. You can also add pigment to your masking fluid. You can thin it out if you're having a hard time using those smaller nibs. And if you're using Monster latex, that definitely is a little bit thicker. Thinning that out works very well. And I've used like the blue color to tint them, and it just makes it easier to see if you're working on some natural paper. You can also use the ruling pens by filling them up with your watercolor ink or your watercolor paints, and you can create lines that way. Just another way of doing it. If you don't like brushes or you have a harder time with a brush, this really is not as easy as it looks. You have to practice this. We talked about using the Monster liquid latex in place of masking fluid. It's basically masking fluid, and I do go into this a little bit more in this video up here. You can check that one out. So let's use all three of these now for a quick little tutorial. This is a way to make some great little rocks. You can see it's very loose, and last week I did put up another loose interpretation using a bottle with liquid latex for a very loose and intuitive painting. So I have thinned out my masking fluid in this one. I have added a little bit of tint to it, so you will see a little bit of different color. You can see how I can take that wet masking fluid and also create grass just by using what is down below as well. And again, this is very intuitive. This is kind of like a quick little tutorial that I threw together last minute as I was playing along with the masking fluid. But you can see, look at that nice thin stroke that I'm using. And I thinned that one out pretty tiny. You can also add a little bit of ripples down here in the water. And you can practice and play with it. Play with the width and see, what you like. Now I'm going to use it a little bit wider here for a little tree. This is my little ghost tree. And once we fill this in with a little bit of color, you're going to see how I got a nice little outline in there. So I want to make a couple more now, very, very small, using again that little tiny nib that's on the calligraphy pen. So play around with this. Just, create some little marks, and you could even, instead of doing trees and grass and rocks, you could just do little mark making and just play with it. So let it dry naturally. You can see again where I added, this is just the regular Monster latex. It's a little bit thicker, yellow, and the other parts are thinner, and that's where I thinned out that masking fluid with a little bit of water, and I added a little bit of tint to it. Now, if you want to check out the full tutorial on my Patreon, I have this all in real time, and you can see my whole process I went through in detail on Patreon. I would love to have you over there. All right, so let's watch this masking fluid in work, doing its job. I'm adding blue, a little yellow ochre, just throwing in the colors, just having some fun. I'm using my dagger brush so I can create a little bit of the grass up on the top there, flowing down through, adding some trees in here, a little green, a little blue, going a little darker, letting things mix and match a little bit because I have that one tree. I probably should have done a little bit more with the masking fluid and a couple more trees. But again, I wanted to do this quick, and I was just playing around with this. You can see I actually did this one like 3 different ways, and the masking fluid was the last one because I loved the outcome of this. Look at that. Isn't that cool? You get that cool design in there. Like, I think this would be great as a print. And I am using a tool called a pickup tool to remove the masking fluid. You can see what a wonderful job that did. The thinner little marks there. I've got the thicker in the rocks with using just the bottle. So I used all 3, and you can see you get nice variation with this. So grab your tools, play around, see what you've got, and have fun with it this week. I would love to see yours. If you do it, you can tag me on social media. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook, and the links are down below in the video. And we will see you in the next one. You guys just have some fun this week. Talk to you soon. Bye.